At an NBA game, a 13-year-old boy named Calvin unexpectedly challenges the Knights' star player, Tracy, to a one-on-one match. Tracy smirks and underestimates the boy, casually teasing him in his mind. Calvin suddenly crouches down to tie his shoelaces. The next moment, he fakes out Tracy, drives past him, and makes an easy layup. The crowd erupts in amazement. Tracy's expression shifts as he starts to take Calvin seriously, but Calvin tricks him again with another fake and sinks a three-pointer. Everyone in the arena is stunned. Now, Tracy is furious. He throws off his jersey and tosses the ball back to Calvin, daring him to attack. Calvin doesn't back down. In a shocking turn, the arena falls silent as Calvin lands a perfect move, leaving everyone in awe. After a moment of stunned silence, the crowd bursts into thunderous applause, cheering for the boy. Tracy, embarrassed and glaring at Calvin, stands frozen, unable to comprehend how a kid could be this skilled. Flashback to a few days earlier. Calvin, an orphan who loves basketball, received a pair of donated basketball shoes from the orphanage. When he saw the initials MJ on the shoes, he realized the shoes were once worn by Michael Jordan. Excited, he told his friends, but a boy with dyed yellow hair dismissed him, saying, "We're orphans. No one would give us something that valuable." Out of jealousy, the boy grabbed the shoes and tossed them onto a high-power line. That night, it began to rain. Calvin, determined to get the shoes back, couldn't sleep. He climbed a tree with his friends to retrieve them. Just as he was about to grab the shoes, a bolt of lightning struck, knocking Calvin and the shoes to the ground. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt. The next day, Calvin attended a Knights game with his friends. During halftime, Calvin was invited onto the court for a show match against Tracy. Wearing Michael Jordan's shoes, Calvin seemed to channel MJ's legendary skills. He outplayed Tracy with jaw-dropping moves, breaking through defenses, sinking three-pointers, and even pulling off a dunk. The entire arena was stunned, and the Knights manager, seeing Calvin's potential, or maybe just wanting publicity, offered the orphanage a hefty sum to sign Calvin for the team. The manager's plan worked. A 13-year-old boy joining the NBA became a sensation. The Knights' games sold out, and the team's popularity skyrocketed. However, during one game, the Knights trailed heavily against a fierce opponent. During a timeout, Calvin suggested a new passing strategy. The coach, intrigued, sent Calvin in to lead the team, despite Calvin feeling nervous because he wasn't wearing his special shoes. After struggling for a bit, Calvin called for a timeout and quickly ran to the locker room to put on the magic shoes. Once back on the court, he dominated, pulling off jaw-dropping plays, stealing from legends, and leading the team to an incredible comeback, overturning a 27-point deficit. Calvin's talent even earned him the dunk contest championship, and even star players lined up to get his autograph. However, not everyone was a fan of Calvin. Tracy, humiliated by the boy, grew to despise him. To make matters worse, the manager assigned Calvin and Tracy to share a hotel room. For Calvin, an orphan who had never lived in luxury, it was a dream. For Tracy, it was a nightmare. Tracy laid down 3 strict rules, but Calvin, being a carefree kid, accidentally trashed the room. That evening, Tracy returned with his girlfriend, only to find the mess and Calvin. To Tracy's shock, his girlfriend turned out to be Calvin's long-lost younger sister. The reunion ruined Tracy's evening, leaving him even more annoyed. Later that night, Tracy just wanted to sleep, but Calvin's antics kept him up. The next morning, Tracy arrived at practice exhausted. When the coach asked what had happened, Calvin innocently mentioned Tracy bringing his girlfriend over. Tracy was scolded in front of the team, and his dislike for Calvin deepened. Night after night of dealing with Calvin's antics, Tracy decided to buy some sleeping pills. But when he saw an attractive woman at the pharmacy, he got distracted chatting with her and didn't pay attention to the doctor's instructions. He ended up taking the pills incorrectly, and Tracy fell asleep. Calvin, realizing the danger, and carefully drove Tracy back to the hotel, even though it was illegal for him to drive. Calvin ended up getting arrested, taking full responsibility so Tracy wouldn't face any legal trouble. When Tracy found out, he was deeply moved. For the first time, Tracy began to accept Calvin, even inviting him to his home and teaching him geometry using basketball strategies. Their bond grew stronger, and Tracy became a father figure to Calvin. On the court, Tracy and Calvin's teamwork was unmatched. They led the Knights to victory after victory. Finally, the team reached a pivotal moment. One more win would secure their spot in the NBA Finals. The coach motivated the players, by reminding them that winning would mean another season together. Calvin and Tracy exchanged knowing smiles. Deep down, both of them longed for a sense of family. When Calvin learned that Tracy hadn't spoken to his father in years, he couldn't understand why. Determined to help, Calvin tracked down Tracy's father and brought him to Tracy's home, hoping to reconcile the two. However, their once strong relationship became strained, and they stopped speaking to each other. Without their synergy, the team played poorly and lost a critical game. The coach, frustrated, issued an ultimatum. If they lost the next game, both Tracy and Calvin would be off the team. Before the game, Tracy tried to reconcile with Calvin, but Calvin ran off to the orphanage. There, he met the couple who wanted to adopt him. It was everything Calvin had ever wanted, but he felt conflicted. Meanwhile, the orphanage director revealed to Tracy that Calvin's skills were thanks to the magic shoes. However, if Calvin left with his new family, the orphanage wouldn't receive the money they expected. Jealous and desperate, Calvin's rival stole the shoes and bet $100,000 that the Knights would lose. On game day, Tracy approached Calvin, ready to express his feelings. He had reconciled with his own father and decided he wanted to adopt Calvin and be the father figure Calvin never had. But before Tracy could speak, Calvin's potential adoptive parents arrived, and Tracy held back, offering his congratulations instead. Just then, Calvin realized his magic shoes were missing. Panicked, he raced back to the orphanage, tied up the scheming director, and, with help from his rival, retrieved the shoes from a hidden safe. With newfound confidence, Calvin returned to the game and led the Knights on a 20-point comeback. However, in the final moments, the shoes were damaged during a scramble for the ball. Without the shoes, Calvin doubted himself. He confessed everything to Tracy, who reassured him, "You don't need those shoes to be great." Taking a leap of faith, Calvin returned to the game. He executed a perfect pass to Tracy, who scored the game-winning shot, securing the team's place in the finals. Calvin's bravery and heart earned him respect from everyone, even without the magic shoes. After the season, Calvin chose to return to a normal life, and Tracy officially adopted him and his orphanage friends. Together, they built a happy life. The story wasn't about magical shoes, but about Calvin's kindness, courage, and unwavering determination to chase his dreams.